The father's justice. My hand tightened around the cold metal rail of the hospital bed, so hard my knuckles turned white. The fluorescent lights above hummed without mercy, sharp, sterile, indifferent, as if nothing in this room mattered. But everything mattered, because lying in that bed was my daughter, Dorothy. For a moment, I didn't recognize her. Her face, swollen beyond what any father should ever see, one eye sealed shut, in a dark bloom of purple and black, her lips split, her skin marked with fingerprints that didn't belong to love, only to violence. Her arm lay stiff in a cast, her ribs wrapped tight beneath the thin hospital blanket, each shallow breath a quiet confession of pain. I stood there, frozen, as the smell of antiseptic burned through my chest. This wasn't an accident. I had seen injuries like this before. Too many times. War zones, broken bodies, stories told through bruises and fractures. And every single time, there was always a lie. She fell. She slipped. She wasn't careful. I knew the script. And I knew this wasn't it. Dad. Her voice cracked, barely more than a whisper. The sound shattered something inside me. Her shoulders trembled, fragile, defeated, like she had been holding it in for too long. I stepped closer, slowly, afraid that even my presence might hurt her more. Who did this to you? The words came out low, controlled. But beneath them, something darker was rising. She tried to look away, tried to protect someone who didn't deserve protection. I just fell. No. I cut her off. Not loud, not angry. Just certain. I leaned in slightly, my voice steady. The same voice I used when men's lives depended on the truth. I've seen what falling looks like. Silence filled the space between us. Heavy, unavoidable. Then, she broke. Tears slipped from the only eye she could still open, tracing down bruised skin, disappearing into the pillow beneath her. It was Timothy. The name landed like a loaded weapon. Her breath hitched as the truth finally surfaced. He lost again, at the casino. Her fingers curled weakly against the blanket. His mother, his sister. They held me down. She couldn't finish. She didn't need to. I already understood. Something inside me went completely still. The grief, the shock, the helpless rage that had rushed in when I first walked through that door. It all drained away, replaced by something colder, sharper, controlled. I reached out, gently, careful not to touch the bruises, and rested my hand against the one place on her cheek that was still untouched. Listen to me. My voice was quiet, but it carried weight. They just made the biggest mistake of their lives. Her eye widened slightly, fear flickering through it. Dad, no, you don't understand. They'll hurt you. Please, just stay away. I shook my head, slowly, because she was wrong. Not about the danger, but about me. I'm not the man they think I am. And in that moment, standing in that cold hospital room, staring at what they had done to my daughter, I made a decision. Not out of anger, not out of impulse, but out of something far more dangerous. Clarity. They had mistaken silence for weakness. They had mistaken age for helplessness. They had mistaken a father for someone who would forgive this. And they were about to learn exactly how wrong they were. 18 months earlier, my world had gone quiet. Not the kind of quiet that brings peace. The kind that suffocates you slowly, one day at a time. They called it Sunset Manor, a place with clean floors, soft music in the hallways, polite smiles that never reached the eyes. A place designed to look like care, but felt like a prison. It didn't happen all at once. It never does. Vincent, my stepson, had been working on me for months before I even realized it. Small things at first. You forgot where you put your keys again. You've been repeating yourself lately. You sure you're okay managing everything alone? Always gentle, always concerned, always watching. At first, I dismissed it. I was 67, not dead. But doubt, once planted, has a way of growing in silence. Then came the paperwork. Just a precaution, he said, sliding the documents across the table with that same careful smile. Power of attorney. Just in case something happens, it's for your own protection. I remember reading it. I remember hesitating. And I remember choosing to trust him. That was my mistake. Within a week, everything changed. My accounts were frozen. My phone access limited. My house, suddenly no longer mine to control. And before I could fully understand what was happening, I was here. Sunset Manor. A short stay, he said. Just until we get things sorted. That was 18 months ago. Vincent visited once a month. Always the same routine. He'd sit beside me, pat my hand like I was already gone, and tell me how lucky I was. Good care, good people, nothing to worry about. Meanwhile, he was draining everything I had built. Billing my insurance. Moving money. Selling pieces of my life. One quiet transaction at a time. And I couldn't touch any of it. Because legally, I had given him the keys. That was the part that burned the most. Not the loss. Not even the isolation. But the betrayal. He didn't force me. He didn't threaten me. He made me believe. And that's always the cleanest way to destroy someone. But Vincent made one mistake. A mistake people like him always make. He thought age meant weakness. He thought routine meant surrender. He thought silence meant I didn't understand what was happening. He was wrong. I watched everything. Every nurse who left a tablet unlocked. Every staff member who reused passwords. Every document left open on a screen just a few seconds too long. When they thought I was resting, I was memorizing. When they thought I was confused, I was learning. And when they thought I had accepted my place, I was preparing. Because I had spent 25 years in the Army and another 15 in IT security. You don't lose those instincts. You don't forget how systems work. You don't stop seeing patterns, weaknesses, entry points. Sunset Manor wasn't a home. It was a system. And every system has a way out. I just needed the right moment, the right reason, the right trigger. And that morning, when the phone rang, and they told me my daughter was in the hospital, I knew that moment had finally arrived. They thought I was just another old man, waiting for the days to pass. Slow steps, quiet meals, blank stares at the television. That's what they saw. That's what they believed. And I let them. Because invisibility is the most powerful position in any system. Every morning, I woke before the sun. No alarms. No reminders. My body didn't forget discipline, even if they thought my mind had. 20 wall push-ups, controlled, steady. 50 crunches, breath measured, precise. Not to prove strength, but to maintain it. Because weakness is not a number. It's a decision. And I hadn't made that decision. After that, I would sit by the window, quiet, still, watching, not the sky, not the trees, the people. Patterns reveal everything, if you're patient enough to see them. The night nurse always left her tablet unlocked when she got coffee. The orderly who used the same password for every terminal. The receptionist who wrote notes on paper, then threw them away without shredding them. Small mistakes, repeated daily, invisible to anyone not looking. But I was looking, always. When they thought I was napping, my eyes were closed, but my mind wasn't. I listened to conversations, memorized names, tracked schedules, who worked which shift, who was careless, who paid attention. Information layered slowly, piece by piece. No rush, no noise. That's how real control is built. One morning, a young nurse walked into my room. New, nervous. Her hands trembled slightly as she prepared medication. I watched her for a moment, then spoke. That dosage will put him into a coma. She froze. looked down, checked again, and her face went pale. "Oh my God, you're right," she apologized, over and over, voice shaking. I simply nodded. "Fix it." She rushed out, grateful, terrified. That happened more often than it should have. Not because I was extraordinary, but because they were careless. And carelessness is the easiest vulnerability to exploit. They started calling me sharp, observant. "Still got it," some of them would say with a smile. They thought it was harmless. They thought it was just experience. They didn't realize I was mapping their entire system. Every weakness, every entry point, every blind spot, because I had spent decades understanding one simple truth. People don't fail because of strength. They fail because of patterns they never question. And institutions? They're just collections of those patterns. Sunset Manor wasn't secure. It only looked secure. And once you understand that difference, you stop feeling trapped. You start seeing exits. So I waited. Not passively. Never passively. I waited with purpose. With clarity. With a plan forming quietly beneath the surface. Because time, when used correctly, it's not something you endure. It's something you weaponize. And when the moment finally came, when the call about my daughter broke through that carefully built silence, I didn't panic. I didn't hesitate. I simply stood up. I already knew exactly what I needed to do. The call ended, and everything shifted. No more waiting. No more observing. This was the moment. I stood still for exactly 3 seconds, just long enough to align my thoughts. Then I moved. Fast. Precise. Controlled. Because panic wastes time, and time was the only thing I couldn't afford. There was only one problem. I wasn't free. Not on paper. Vincent had made sure of that. Any request to leave, even in an emergency, would be blocked, delayed, buried under procedures designed to protect me. He would say I was confused. He would say I needed supervision. He would say no. So I didn't ask. I reached for the phone and made a different call. "Get me Dr. George Phillips." There was a pause on the line. Then a voice, older, familiar, carrying the weight of years. "This is Phillips." "George, it's Harold Mitchell." Silence. Not confusion. Recognition. "Harold? My God, it's been a long time. I'm calling in that favor." I didn't explain. I didn't need to. Some debts don't require details. Only trust. Another pause. Shorter this time. "What do you need?" "I need out. Now. My daughter's in your ER, and she didn't fall down any stairs." The line went quiet. Then one word. Understood. No questions. No hesitation. That's the difference between acquaintances and men who have seen each other bleed. "I'll make it official," he said. "Emergency specialist consult. 30 minutes. Thank you." "Don't thank me. Just be careful." The line went dead. And just like that, the door I needed opened. 90 minutes later, the transport team arrived. Clean uniforms, official paperwork, signatures that mattered. The manager tried to protest. He waved forms, mentioned protocols, Vincent's instructions, all the things small people hide behind when they think rules make them powerful. The nurse didn't argue. She simply handed him the document. Stamped. Authorized. Final. I watched his authority disappear in real time. Then I walked past him. No luggage. No hesitation. Just my wallet, and everything I had been holding back for 18 months. The air outside felt different. Sharper. Colder. Real. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't being watched. I was moving by choice. The car door closed behind me. The engine started. And as the building faded in the distance, so did the version of me they thought they had contained. Because this was no longer about survival. This was no longer about waiting. This was action. Calculated. Deliberate. Unstoppable. They thought they had locked me away. Controlled me. Silenced me. But all they had really done, I was given time to prepare. And now, the game had officially begun. I stood at the foot of her bed and let the silence do its work. Because truth never comes out under pressure. It comes out when there's nowhere left to hide. Tell me everything. My voice was calm, not demanding, not emotional, just steady. That's when she started. Slowly at first, like each word had to fight its way out. Timothy, he wasn't always like this. That's how it always begins. Excuses. Hope clinging to what used to be. He lost money at the casino, just small amounts at first. Her fingers tightened around the blanket. Then it got worse. Bigger losses, more nights away. I nodded slightly. Patterns. Escalation. Predictable. And every time he lost, he came home angry. Her voice dropped. He'd say it was my fault, that I stressed him, that I distracted him. I didn't interrupt. Didn't react. I needed everything. The first time, he hit me, he cried afterward. Of course he did. They always do. He said it would never happen again. Her breath caught. But it did. Again. And again. And again. Each time a little worse. Each time a little less apology. Until the violence became routine. Then her voice changed. Colder. Quieter. That wasn't the worst part. I leaned in slightly. Go on. His mother, Helen. The name carried weight. From the beginning, she hated me. I could hear it in her tone. Years of quiet humiliation. She called me useless, lazy, said I wasn't good enough for her son. Classic reinforcement. Fuel for a weak man's ego. And Nancy, his sister. Another piece. She was worse. Always watching, always waiting for a mistake. A system. Not just one abuser. A structure. They would stand there while he yelled at me. Her voice trembled. Sometimes they held me. That was the moment the room changed. Not just violence. Coordination. Approval. Encouragement. This wasn't chaos. It was control. And Carol, her eyes filled again. My daughter. I felt something tighten in my chest. They treat her like she doesn't matter, like she's invisible. Her voice cracked. Bradley, Helen's grandson. He bullies her, takes her things, pushes her. And the adults? They laugh. That told me everything. This wasn't just a broken home. It was an ecosystem of cruelty. Built, maintained, normalized. I let a few seconds pass. Then I asked the question that mattered. What about money? She hesitated, then nodded slightly. There's something strange. Now we were getting somewhere. About a year ago, I heard Helen arguing on the phone. Her voice lowered. She was yelling about accounts, offshore accounts. My attention sharpened instantly. She said no one could touch it, that it was hers. Hidden assets. Concealed control. How much? I think around 180,000. That was it. The first real fracture in their structure. A secret. And secrets are leverage. I leaned back slightly, letting the pieces fall into place. A violent husband, driven by debt. A controlling mother, hiding money. A sister, reinforcing the system. And a child, caught in the middle. This wasn't random. This was a network. And every network has a breaking point. I looked down at my daughter again. Broken. But still here. Still fighting, even if she didn't know it. Listen to me. My voice was quiet, but absolute. You're safe now. Her eyes searched mine, uncertain. And them? I held her gaze. Cold. Certain. They just exposed their weakest point. She didn't understand yet. That was fine. Because this wasn't about explaining. This was about execution. And now, I had everything I needed to begin. The house looked normal from the outside. 2 stories. Trimmed lawn. Quiet street. The kind of place people pass without a second glance. But the moment I opened the door, I knew exactly what it really was. The smell hit first. Stale beer, sour food, something unwashed, something neglected. Not just a messy house, a broken one. I stepped inside slowly. No rush, no noise. The living room told its own story. Empty boxes stacked like evidence. Dirty dishes left to harden. A carpet stained with things no one had bothered to clean. And on the couch, two women, comfortable, careless, watching television like nothing in this house mattered. The older one glanced at me, unimpressed. Well, Dorothy's not here. Flat. Dismissive. You can sleep on the couch. The kitchen's a mess. Make yourself useful. I didn't answer. Because they didn't matter. Not yet. Then I heard it. A small sound. Almost nothing. A broken breath. Coming from deeper in the house. I followed it. Step by step. Past the noise. Past the indifference. Toward something real. The room was small. Too small. Barely a room at all. And in the corner, she sat. Carol. 10 years old, maybe less in spirit. Too quiet. Too still. Holding a broken doll like it was the only thing she had left. Her eyes didn't look at me. They looked through me. That was enough. I knelt down slowly. Hey, sweetheart. Before I could say more, footsteps. Fast. Heavy. A boy burst in. Older. Bigger. A grin that didn't belong on a child. Well, look who's still crying. He reached down, grabbed the doll from her hands. She didn't fight. That told me everything. He twisted it casually. Like breaking something was entertainment. I moved. Not fast. Not violent. Just certain. My hand closed around his wrist. Firm. Unbreakable. We don't steal from little girls. My voice was quiet. Controlled. And we don't break what's already broken. He froze. Confused. Because no one had ever stopped him before. I held his gaze. Long enough. Then released him. He dropped the doll. I picked it up, placed it back into Carol's hands. Grandpa's here. That's when the storm arrived. What do you think you're doing? The sister. Sharp voice. Sharper eyes. She lunged. Hands aimed for my face. Uncontrolled. Predictable. I stepped aside. Caught her wrist. Applied just enough pressure. Not to hurt. To stop. Her body reacted instantly. Shock. Pain. Confusion. Your nails are dirty, I said calmly. And you're teaching him very bad habits. She stumbled back. Then the mother appeared. Anger without restraint. She grabbed an iron poker. Raised it like it meant something. I'll show you. She didn't finish. Because I took it from her. Effortlessly. No struggle. No noise. Just control. Then I bent it. Slowly. Deliberately. Metal giving way under pressure. The sound filled the room. And silence followed. Complete. Absolute. I looked at them. Not angry. Not loud. Just certain. This house is under new management. No one moved. Rule 1. You do not touch her. I nodded toward Carol. Rule 2. You do not touch me. A pause. Rule 3. This place gets cleaned. I pointed. You, floors. Then to the mother. You, dishes. Finally, to the boy. You sit and think. He opened his mouth. Closed it again. Sat down. Because something had changed. Not in the house. In the balance of power. For the next 2 hours, I worked. Not to impress them. To restore order. Water ran. Soap cut through neglect. Dirt disappeared. Piece by piece. I found clean clothes. Prepared a real bed. Gave Carol something she hadn't had in a long time. Safety. She didn't speak. But she watched. Every movement, every action, like she was trying to understand what had just happened. Downstairs, they obeyed, quietly, because for the first time, someone had drawn a line, and meant it. By the time the house settled, it felt different, still broken, but no longer controlled by them. I tucked Carol into bed, pulled the blanket up gently. "You're safe now." She hesitated, then whispered, "Are you staying?" I nodded. Yes. A small pause. Then something shifted in her eyes. Not fear, not yet trust, but something close. Hope. And as I stood there, in that quiet room, I realized something. This wasn't just about revenge. This was about reclaiming something that had been taken, piece by piece, until nothing was left. But now, that process had reversed, and for the first time, they weren't in control anymore. By the time the house grew quiet, the real work began. Not the cleaning, not the confrontation. Those were only surface corrections. What mattered now was control. I sat at the kitchen table, alone, listening to the low hum of the refrigerator, the distant creak of pipes, the kind of silence that hides everything if you let it. But I don't let things hide. Not anymore. Timothy's laptop was still there, half closed, forgotten, like everything else in this house. Carelessness, again. I opened it slowly. No password. Of course, people who think they're in control rarely secure what matters. The screen lit up. Emails, bank statements, draft documents, a digital trail, scattered and unguarded. I didn't rush. I never rush. I scanned, categorized, connected. Patterns began to form almost immediately. Late-night transactions, irregular transfers, files renamed, then hidden, but not deleted. They never understand that. Nothing is ever truly gone. While the data mapped itself in my head, I reached into my pocket and took out my phone. Simple tools, used correctly, become powerful. I installed a basic monitoring suite, the kind marketed as family safety, location tracking, communication logs, ambient recording triggers, perfectly legal when used to protect a minor in a potentially unsafe environment. I synced it quietly. No alerts, no notifications, just silent access. Then I moved to the next piece. Helen's phone sat charging near her purse. Unlocked. Predictable. I lifted it gently, checked the settings, and mirrored the same system. Again, no resistance, because no one here believed they needed protection. That assumption was their weakness. Within minutes, the network was complete. Devices linked, data flowing, every call, every message, every movement. Not to spy, to understand, because information isn't power. Organized information is. I leaned back slightly, letting the structure settle in my mind. 3 targets, 3 patterns, 3 sets of vulnerabilities. Timothy, impulsive, reckless, driven by loss and ego. Helen, controlling, secretive, hiding more than she showed. Nancy, reactive, emotional, predictable, under pressure. Different behaviors, same flaw. They all believed no one was watching. That illusion was now gone. From this moment forward, every decision they made would be seen. Every mistake, recorded. Every lie, stored. And when the time came, every piece would connect. I closed the laptop halfway, leaving it exactly as I found it. No traces, no disruption, because the best systems don't announce themselves. They observe, silently, patiently, waiting for the right moment to act. Upstairs, the house remained still. Carol was asleep. The others, quiet, uncertain. They could feel something had changed. even if they didn't understand what. That was fine. Understanding comes later. Consequences come first. I stood up slowly, glanced once more around the room. Now cleaner, calmer, but still full of hidden fractures. Then I turned off the light and let the darkness return. Because from now on, I didn't need to search for the truth. The truth, it was already coming to me. The house was quiet until it wasn't. I heard the car before I saw him. Engine too loud, brakes too late. The kind of arrival that announces trouble before the door even opens. Then, a kick. The front door slammed inward. Dorothy. His voice cut through the house, thick with alcohol, heavier with rage. Where's my drink? I didn't move. I stayed exactly where I was, standing in the living room, waiting. Because this moment needed to come to me. Footsteps staggered in. Uneven. Aggressive. Then he saw me. He stopped. Confusion flickered first. Then irritation. Then something darker. Who the hell are you? I'm Dorothy's father. My voice was calm. Controlled. Your wife is in the hospital. I'm here for Carol. A pause. His mind struggled to catch up. Then his expression hardened. You're that old man she cries about. That's correct. He stepped closer. Too close. You need to leave. No. The word didn't echo. It settled. Heavy. Unmovable. That was the moment everything changed. Because men like him aren't used to resistance. Especially not quiet resistance. His jaw tightened. His hands clenched. And then he moved. Fast, but sloppy. A wide swing. Driven by anger, not skill. I stepped back. Just enough. Let his momentum carry him forward. He crashed into the table, lost balance, hit the wall. The room shook with it. For a second, silence. Then a roar. Pure, uncontrolled. He lunged again. This time closer. More desperate. I didn't step back. I didn't strike. I simply raised my phone. The red light was already on. Smile, Timothy. My voice didn't rise. You're on camera. Everything stopped. Not his body. His mind. Because even drunk, he understood what that meant. I took one step forward. Slow. Deliberate. Everything you've done tonight is already being recorded. I tilted the phone slightly. Uploaded. In real time. His breathing changed. Shorter. Faster. You break this phone. It doesn't matter. I let the silence stretch. Too late. His eyes shifted. Calculating. Fear. Starting to replace anger. Good. That meant he was thinking. And that's just the beginning. I lowered the phone slightly. Because I've spent the evening reviewing your financial history. That got his attention. What? The transfers, the missing funds, the accounts you thought no one would notice. I watched his face carefully. The micro reactions. Denial. Recognition. Panic. You've been stealing, Timothy. Quiet. Clear. Precise. From your clients, to cover your gambling losses. That's not. I raised a finger. He stopped. Because certainty is louder than shouting. I have the records. Emails. Logs. Transaction trails. You're not nearly as careful as you think you are. Silence again. He swallowed. Hard. Now. The pressure shifted. You're going to sit down. He didn't move. Sit. This time. He listened. Because control had already changed hands. I placed the phone on the table, camera still facing him. Tomorrow morning, you will sign 3 documents. I counted them slowly. Divorce papers. A beat. Full custody transferred to Dorothy. Another beat. Termination of your parental rights. His eyes widened. And a signed confession, detailing your financial crimes. His voice came out low, shaken. You're insane. No. I leaned slightly closer. I'm prepared. A pause. Then the final piece. The one that breaks him. Did you know your mother has been lying to you? That hit deeper. Confusion returned. What are you talking about? Offshore accounts. I watched it land. Approximately $180,000. His face changed. Slowly. Painfully. No. She said we were broke. She said a lot of things. I held his gaze. But bank records don't lie. I let the silence sit. Heavy. Suffocating. You destroyed your family for money that already existed. That was it. The fracture point. His shoulders dropped. Not from exhaustion. From collapse. Internal. Complete. This isn't real. It is. I straightened slightly. You have two options. Clear. Simple. You sign and walk away quietly. A pause. Or I release everything. I tapped the phone lightly. Financial crimes. Domestic abuse. Recorded evidence. I leaned in just enough. Police, your employer, the bar association, every local network. His breathing became uneven. You won't. I will. Not louder. Just final. And I won't hesitate. That's when he broke. Not physically. Mentally. The anger was gone. The fight, gone. All that remained, it was a calculation. Survival. And if I sign, his voice was barely steady. You walk away. I didn't blink. You stay away from my family. A beat. And this stays private. The room held its breath. Then slowly, he nodded. Once. Good. I stepped back. Picked up the phone. Turned off the recording. Because the outcome had already been secured. Go upstairs. He stood. Unsteady. Broken in a way no bruise could show. And Timothy. He paused. Sleep on your side. A small beat. You'll breathe easier. He didn't respond. He didn't need to. Because in that moment, he understood something for the first time. This wasn't a fight. This wasn't anger. This was control. And he had already lost it.